Welcome back to another episode of This Film Not Rated, a branch of the Drive-In Podcast Network, where we try to
my alarm's going off.
Where we try to not rate movies and not disrupt the stream or the podcast with phone alarms.
It's a great success.
It's a great success. I am Curtis.
I'm Eric.
And this week we have another special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Matthew Fox, and I'm part of the Drive-In Network. Eric and I look at, we actually give our true feelings about all the movies we look at on This Week at the Movies, and then also part of the North American Film Critics Association with Ricky, and spend a lot of time, sadly, watching Denver Bronco games.
That's tragic. But, we have a little mission on this on the show to try to prove that you can be objective about films, that it's not that hard. But as it turns out, it is kind of hard. In the many episodes that we've done, we've never been able to fully be objective about a single film. Maybe today will be different. But Matthew, what movie are we talking about today?
M3GAN.
Tell us a little bit about what M3GAN is about.
Mm-hmm.
M3GAN is about a young girl who loses her parents and is sent to live with her aunt. And that aunt works for a toy company, but she's really kind of a robotics engineer. And instead of trying to become a parent to her niece, she instead invents a AI little robot that can do all those menial tasks of parenting for her. And predictably, things don't turn out as she expected.
Yep. It's about right. Thanks. I'm doing something.
Okay, Cats so I have an alarm. You have a cat. This is good.
I have a dog that's on the bed too, but she's just laying there. But yes. Well then, are you ready to go through the gauntlet?
I am indeed.
All right. Let's get this started then. Matthew.
Wait, we have a new thing since Matthew's been here.
Oh, yeah, we got these little trinkets here. So, when you do get a wrong answer, you'll hear this sound. Let you know that you are out of the gauntlet. And then we're just going to talk straight about the film, about our real feelings, while trying to still be somewhat objective and not...
We just don't
Eric's just hoping that happens in question one. He's ready to go.
Well, then. Let's see if his dream comes true. Matthew, is M3GAN a good or bad movie?
You know, I think objectively, there's no way to answer that question without
it. But you have to try.
I think based on the summation of the movie provided in the marketing materials, it achieves what someone who watched those marketing materials would have expected to see.
Eric?
I'm gonna let that one go. I feel like in retrospect we could be like, oh well, we can't speak to someone else's expectations. But I've seen an overwhelming majority of people endorse that opinion that the trailer reflects the experience of watching the movie. And we'll go a bit further on that in a bit. So
it reflects my opinion, but I'm not everyone else. But we'll just say,
I'm just going to say, like, the majority of opinions reflect that notion that you've seen. So that'll be that.
All right. So. Question 2. What's the best scene in M3GAN?
You know, I thought about how to answer this, and in the screening I attended, the scene that got the largest reaction from the audience was when M3GAN is dancing in the hallway.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair enough.
Give him the next one.
Yep.
I heard somebody else take that path, and I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe it works.
What should be cut from the movie?
In general, horror films that run 90 minutes or less seem to have a higher rating than films that tend to run more than 90 minutes. M3GAN runs 112 minutes.
Mhm.
But how's that question worded, Curtis?
What's the best scene? Oh, sorry. What should be cut?
What
You-
would you cut to get that down?
Yeah.
About 20 minutes.
What specifically would you cut?
I think he's got that one. I think that's fair.
All right. So who's the best actor in M3GAN?
I think the actor that seemed to get the best reaction from those in the screening I attended is the combination of performers that played M3GAN.
Is it a combination of performers?
There is a if you look at the credits for the film, there is an older actress listed as as being a voice, and there is a younger actress that I believe was a stand-in for the physical appearance.
Okay. And these two actors got the most reaction out of the theater that you were.
Mm-hmm.
How do you measure that?
Well, you could go into probably like
Applause.
what does the most reaction mean? But okay, got the most applause.
There was applause. I went to a screening middle of Saturday afternoon, so
Wow,
it was 75%.
Okay, well then I got to give you that. Like, that's the time to get a test audience to do a thing.
Okay.
Well, you're getting buzzed on the next one no matter what, because this is not fair. So go ahead.
Who's the worst actor?
I'm gonna say it's the neighbor.
Ah.
I had so completely different in mind.
when you got to quote, I literally don't remember a single line of dialogue from that film.
Well, let's just start with what we liked about the film.
What made you want to watch it? So
Matthew, what made you want to watch M3GAN?
Well, first of all, if anyone has ever met me, they know I'm not discerning. I watched 705 films from January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. So I will watch anything. I don't really care about genre or anything per se, but what made me especially want to see this is knowing that I was going to be talking about it on podcasts.
Ooh.
So it was a work movie.
Well, I mean, I probably would have, again, seen it anyway. The trailer did not inspire me the way that it did some.
See, I was going to ask. Maybe that'll be Curtis's answer or somebody's, but the trailer seems to have been what got a lot of people.
The trailer didn't really get me all that much. I saw the trailer and was like, okay, it's a different version of Child's Play. Is the first thing that I thought of when I watched the trailer. That's essentially what I got. Specifically, the Child's Play with Mark Hamill with Chucky.
Mm-hmm.
But
so are we just watching this because I said this is the one we should do for this week?
Well, I mean, it is the first major release of 2023.
It is.
So there is some kind of excitement about that.
It's the first major release, and it's a horror movie as the first major release, which I don't see too often. And I like horror. I like schlocky horror. I like thoughtful horror. I like horror in general. It's one of my favorite genres. So there's a good chance I was going to go see this anyway.
I'm hard pressed to remember, but I know Scream came out in February last year.
Mm-hmm.
Scream came out in January. They do frequently drop horror movies.
The Grudge was the year before.
As among the first films of the year. It's because horror films don't really have a season. They're usually pretty cost effective to produce, and they get an audience, and they make money no matter when you drop.
Yeah.
So I wanted to watch M3GAN because basically the showcase, the actress from The Little Girl is an actress who's been in some of Mike Flanagan's stuff, and the actress who plays her aunt is from Get Out.
You're talking about Violet McGraw,
I believe so.
The daughter.
Yes. Yeah. And just so a lot of recognizable faces, and yeah, I'm not averse to the idea of something like Child's Play. But it's funny, Matt and we talked this week at the movies about M3GAN, and I had a point there that I forgot, and I had a point, and I remembered it just now. And that's that this is a movie about a killer doll bot. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Why does she kill?
I mean, the way the movie describes it is she kills to protect M3GAN. Sorry, not to. She kills to protect the daughter. Can't remember the daughter's name. Katie. She kills to protect Katie from harm.
C-A-D-Y,
emotional or
Katie
otherwise.
Spelling.
Yeah. So Annabelle is evil and wants to get into somebody's soul. Chucky is evil and wants to get in somebody's soul. New Chucky is not evil, but genuinely has this glitch that feels like if someone is going to threaten someone's life, or he perceives, then it's like a life for a life. M3GAN is just like, what is death? Oh, something I should do for no reason.
I would argue Curtis is correct. The first time she kills, and maybe even the second time, is in defense of her primary user, because as Gemma gives, Allison Williams gives as a line in there, she didn't fully understand the lengths she was supposed to go for her primary directive, which was to safeguard. And they do circle back to that when she says, oh, you've exceeded your mandate. And she says, you didn't give me a mandate. You put in an AI that you didn't fully comprehend and just hoped I would figure it out. And I was like, that is the most true thing that's ever been said.
That's a thing. Okay,
look, I did remember a quote.
Yeah, one of the longest, most convoluted quotes in the movie.
The dog and the neighbor, both of them feel like they have like a lethal amount. Like the neighbor, by association of raising the dog, you have a certain amount of like defensiveness that is there. I can understand that. I can even understand
also
the little boy. I can understand, but that's where the line gets mixed up, because she doesn't kill the little boy. And then she goes crazy on people who are completely unrelated to her subject. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, they didn't explain it at all. Of course they explained it, but like, this movie has so much in it, and I'm going right past what I liked about it into problems I had with the movie. I know. It has so much going on. You have the contemplating the idea of what causes someone who's been through the most tragic experience they can go through, which is being orphaned, to find bonding and attachment to a new caregiver. Okay? And by the end of the movie, that is, there's a touching scene between the two of them, but then that therapist character is never brought back after they go through this tense situation where the girl straight up slaps her caregiver right in front of this person who's evaluating the two of them to see if they're a good fit. She's just gone
after grabbing scissors in a threatening, stabbing way.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you have this idea of the doll is going to be put out as a toy. We don't know if that happened or not.
Then you have the corporate espionage plot line that went absolutely nowhere. You saw the one guy copying files to a server that he wasn't supposed to be, and
then she called out that was like a joke, or like he was doing
he was
that.
Just copying him for himself, so that made no sense. You know, when you were looking for those 20 minutes,
there are all these little threads. You know that if you're going to focus on one, you can cut the others. This movie has. I keep hearing the word explore brought up by people. The movie explores things.
Yeah,
and
not really.
That made me want to talk about this more and more, because when I left the theater, I was like, man, we should do women talking, because there's so much to talk about. There's so much to get into there. But the more I keep hearing people talk about this, I feel that overhype. I haven't felt overhype like this since COVID, where people were talking about like Godzilla versus Kong and Mortal Kombat as like some of the greatest movies coming out at the time. And I was like, but it's that kind of sensation. I think a lot of people, it's like 2022 was such a good year for movies. Like, I think we're all just gradually starting to appreciate more and more, like, wow, like almost in every subgenre, you have huge, heavy hits coming out of like indie cinema, horror, and like all kinds of stuff. And now I think people are paying attention and wanting to go to the theater. And I think there's this weird bubble of like, here's your first cool theatrical experience of 2023. And everyone is taking the good and blowing it up. But like even the dance number is exactly what you see in the theater. And then it stops and she walks like Michael Myers. By the way, this is a full spoiler podcast. So,
yep.
You know, it quits. Why wouldn't she keep dancing with the thing? I know that's asking a tiny...
Or a better question, like, why the F did she do the dance in the first place?
I see, like, I don't... It just...
I mean,
I can understand distracting him to get close to him, but then she quits.
Yeah, like with horror movies, questions like that tend not to bother me. It's more like, because in a way it is a little bit creepy and unnerving, and I don't mind that. But it's the stopping thing. It's like asking why Jason plays with his victims the way he does, or why Freddy has such a personality. It's just them. That's just M3GAN. It seems weird, but
yeah. I don't know, Matt. What did you think about what did you like and what did you not like?
I think it achieves its basic aims. I thought Allison Williams was fine. One of the questions we didn't get to that I was contemplating on there was how would the thing change if you flip the gender of the main character? And for like the work and creation aspects, it would almost make more sense if she was a man, because they gave her almost prototypical. The film is a kind of a combination, I mentioned, of three types of horror tropes. You have the creator who doesn't foresee the unintended consequences they're passing on to their children with what they're making. You have the person who's making advanced artificial intelligence, assuming they can control every aspect of it, which never plays out. And then you have the creator. And for a couple of those, doing a gender reverse would almost have made sense, but it wouldn't with the parental bonding that they were trying to do. It made sense, that everyone perceived that she should be able to bond with the little girl, but was too stiff and out of her comfort level to figure out how to bond with a child. And I do think that is a common assumption we make about females is, oh, you're a woman, you must be good with kids.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like, or that happens to me in our household. People, oh, your wife doesn't cook. No, I actually am better at it and I enjoy it. And she doesn't. So why does it matter? So I liked Alice Williams. I liked those things. The thing that really bothers me in retrospect is you see the entire film in the trailer. In fact, like that dance moment that we're talking about, it still got the biggest rise in the screening that I was in, but it didn't get the rise that it probably could have if you hadn't needlessly punched it into the trailer.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this when we were talking about earlier. What would make me curious is James Wan, who's done some very creative horror things, is credited with a story credit here, but he didn't finish the script and he didn't direct it. There's enough here that could have been more compelling. If you had somebody who was maybe a little stronger storyteller, could they have sharpened some of those edges and worked on it? It's like we see George Lucas is fantastic at coming up with stories, but not always do those stories get taken by other people and interpreted in a great and compelling way. He needs like some kind of a partner. And it made me wonder seeing James Wan attached to it. And that's why I think that's the deceptive part of the marketing too, because you see them, all the movies they're saying that they're connected to are from James Wan and Jason Blum, who is just a producer of horror movies. So it's not like they actually had the hands-on creative control. And I think that's where your expectations get subverted.
Yeah. Yeah, if this were directed by James Wan, you probably would have had a little bit more crazy camera motion, especially when it came to when M3GAN was doing her kills. You probably would have focused a little bit more on the family dying dynamic, not including the therapist, just the aunt and Katie. And like you said, cut out most of the work stuff, cut out bit of the therapy stuff, and you probably have a more solid film. But
what's interesting is this is the same screenwriter as *Malignant*, and *Malignant* had a similar thing where I thought I kind of agree with you, Matthew. The style of *Malignant*, I thought, won me over, like the style and tone over what was actually written. And I think this is the same sort of thing where, like, this movie opens and a little girl's in the backseat of her parents talking in the front of the car. I'm like, oh, okay, so we're going to do a car wreck. I was wondering how the girl ends up an orphan, and they're like, now I know. So are we going to make this super tense? Is it going to be a suspenseful? Oh, nope, it happened. It was the surprise thing, just like so many other movies. And that kind of kept happening, where I was like, okay, so we're going to do a thing where the dog has a neighbor. The neighbor has a dog. The neighbor has a dog. So the animal's going to get, taken out. How are we going to do? Oh, we did it. Okay. And
frustratingly, you see none of that.
Well, we're gonna. That's one of the big things that the director's been saying is, well, there's a gorier version, so you can expect an extended version that's gorier. But I would be so much more curious to see scenes that, if you're going to add to the movie, that would layer out the relationship dynamics between M3GAN, the aunt, and the girl. Because every time we spent time at her place of work, I was irritated. And partially, to be honest, a little bit biased because there were people behind me in the theater who were talking the whole time. But honestly, because I was like, this concept of, but we got to make a deadline and sell a toy, and you're not thinking about business here, knowing that it's just going to lead to the head of the toy company being killed for some reason, because he's like, oh, I thought it was going to go the direction of, I'm so tired of this M3GAN doll, I need to sabotage it so that I can get them back to making my little fuzzy dolls.
Mm-hmm.
And that was going to be how M3GAN sort of woke up or turned evil, is he was going to try and kill M3GAN, and M3GAN was going to have to self-defense.
Mm-hmm. That does make me think there was a thread there that they either cut or never went, because you get the little girl gets asked about that. I've almost forgot. The movie starts with that kind of fantastic fake
commercial.
Ad.
Yeah.
And then you've kind of got that going on, and the aunt asks a couple times about it, and the girl cuts her off, and I thought it was going to come back to, she blamed the toy or something, but then there's one of those threads that...
Yeah, and instead we spend a whole time with the kid in the woods, even though for some reason we're making the kid homeschooled. It's like, it's a way easier way to get a girl around a bunch of kids that are harassing her is have the character be in school.
Yeah. I actually thought that after I saw those files being put onto a different server, I thought we would get that leak, and then the company would make her rush with the coding and the programming to keep her up to date, which would then lead to malfunctions. Like there are several threads in here that could lead to the same thing without it being she naturally learned how to do it.
And actually, to go right back on myself, the character being homeschooled is so interesting and not explored that much, because it's that idea of, like, you keep to the traditions of the child's original family, but you have to make a new family, and what does that look like? There's just so much this movie doesn't do that I don't feel like I can go back to it for anything. And that's kind of a disappointment for me, I think.
I can understand that. Like, anything that I might want to go back to it for, I have Child's Play for.
Yeah.
I have...
other than the dance number, what would you watch this again? Oh, and honestly, the scene in the woods was pretty, like, freaky and pretty cool.
Yeah.
I really did like that.
Speaking of which, why did she drop on all fours? You never see her do it at any other point in time.
Ever again?
Maybe the dog freaked her out, and so she thought, like, a four-legged animal. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so weird.
I hate to tell the poor person that wrote this screenplay. It doesn't matter that the dog's never bit a person before or that it went through a fence to do it. Animal control's making an incident and taking the cops saying, "Oh, we can't do anything about it." That's not grounded in reality.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
At least 1 or 2 interviews with the people who did the jobs that were in the movie would have been nice. Just to kind of flesh out how those people were. I feel like maybe because of the work on Malignant, the police officers felt pretty organic. Like that guy who laughs for a second at the boy getting hurt or whatever, that got a big laugh out of the theater that I was in. But,
you know, I actually think the movie did a pretty good job of building tension for the most part, and I can appreciate it for that. That's something that I might go back to watch it for is just the subtlety in the filmmaking. But I don't know if there's anything else really.
Well, what about you, Matthew? Would there be anything that would make you go back to?
So I will say we're probably not the target demographic. If you look at the demographics of horror movies like this, they tend to be marketed and fare the best with preteen and teen girls, which is ironic a lot of times because those also happen to usually be the victims of those movies. A couple of years ago, Entertainment Weekly did a big dissection of this and why it's possible. So for me, and having seen a bunch of movies, there's nothing that would make me go back. But, my wife's friend had a daughter who's 11 who saw the trailer, who wants to go with her friends. To me, this is the perfect kind of like starter horror movie for kids like that. You don't have any big sex scenes. There's no romance really element at all, which, if you don't want to have those conversations with your kids, you don't have to. It's not incredibly gory.
Right.
And there's no F-bombs. So I think, if you were looking for a certain kind of audience where you wanted to let them feel like they're getting older, it's PG-13, but, you could have an 11 or 12-year-old that you could take to this and they probably have a great time and think it was cool they got to go and not see anything that was going to make for an uncomfortable car ride home.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Does anybody have anything else they feel like they want to say about M3GAN?
That is, what, in the if you're watching the actual title bar, it's not the number 3. I don't know why they decided to do that. It's like three bars.
Yeah. I think it's because they wanted people to be like E or 3, like they could get away with it. But
yeah.
I do think we need to hit at least 2 of these ending questions. Would Nicolas Cage have made the movie better? For me, I'm going to say a yes.
Absolutely. Nicolas Cage as the boss of
my god, that was so great.
Of the stepmother.
That's real. Like I'm sitting here thinking, is Nicolas Cage going to be Megan? And that's a whole other thing. But
in fact, I will say Nicolas Cage did make this movie going experience better because I got to see the trailer for Renfield in front of this movie.
Oh yeah,
so did I.
Cool.
Yeah, so there you go. And then the MCU one, trailer. I've been pondering that. Who out of here would I cast as a lead in the MCU?
Oh, hey. So you got to go off of the lead. So it has to be the ant, the little girl, or the robot.
Actually, the robot would have made a better Ultron. So
either the ant or the little girl could play Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat in an X-Men movie.
I can see
depending on what age.
I was going to say this question answers itself because the little girl, Violet McGraw, was already in Black Widow.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Then
you have to do DC, by the way. If you hit an actor that's in the MCU, you have to do DC. Although it's possible she's been in both.
I mean, the way things are tracking, Megan could be the new Batman. Might be more compelling as the Flash than Ezra Miller.
Thank you again for watching another episode of This Film Not Rated. Be sure to stop by. Is it still the Music City Drive-In podcast for the website?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's still the Music City Drive-In for the website.
All right, so stop by there to check out a bunch of other podcasts, such as the W Delight, These Guys podcasts called This Week at the Movies. What's the fantasy football one? I can't remember it right now.
The Debbie Delight.
The Debbie Delight.
Actually, it's over, Debbie Delight.
It's over?
It's been over for over a year.
Really?
Yeah, the only football one we have is Happy Hour.
So check out
Happy Hour with Matt and Ricky.
So check out Happy Hour instead of the Debbie Delight, because apparently it's no longer there, and we've been promoting it for no goddamn reason.
Well, we sit on their iTunes feed now, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
people can still check it out.
I'm Curtis. You can follow me at 90sgamer407 on Twitter and on Twitch at Merrick_Tainment, where I play games that I like to play.
I'm Matt. You can follow me at Nighthawk7734 on Twitter and on Letterboxd.
And I'm Eric at High Contrast FLM everywhere.
I'm supposed to hit
the end recording button now.